So I'd like to call this meeting to order at 8:40 p.m. on Zoom this Wednesday, November 24th, 2021. I'd like to acknowledge that the offices of the Wilfrid Laurier Students Union are on the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee people. As for regrets, I've only received one from Director May, who has a work engagement. Moving on, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented with the inclusion of discussion of updates regarding the January by-election policy, as well as discussion on board governance, namely the minutes. Motion by Director Vale, seconded by Director Shandok. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would. I just want to echo my frustrations again about the timeliness of the agenda. I mean, it came well less than 24 hours under our constitution, and certainly well less than the 40 hours under our policy manual.
Okay, thank you for informing me of that. Is there any discussion on the matter? As I see none, all those in favor, Director Bothwell?
I approve.
Is Director Bryant here with us?
I approve.
Thank you. Director Shandok?
I approve.
Thank you. Director Del Giudice, are you here?
I approve.
Thank you. Director Phillips?
I approve.
Director Symington?
I approve.
Director Vale?
I approve.
And Vice Chair Sneedy?
I approve.
The motion passes with unanimous consent. We can now move on to conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare? As I see none, we can, for the sake of time, we can move on. We can move the comments from Chair of the Board, CEO, President and CEO, and Executive Director and CEO to after the by-election. So with that being said, we can actually now welcome our four candidates tonight. So I believe we have John Reed, Carl Zhu, Mai Dang, as well as Nicholas. And you must forgive me if I mispronounce your name. Is it Lafarcola?
It's Lafarchola.
Lafarchola. Here today, who are as stated in the email. So the election is within us in the board. So the way the election is going to work is that every candidate has a minute to present themselves an opening statement and a closing statement later on. And within that time, we will have questions from the board for each of the candidates. So is there any other questions before we can begin? Yes, Nicholas.
Apologies, Andrew. Sorry. Was that I might be misremembering here, but was it not a 5-minute case that we were to prepare, or a 5-minute spiel, I suppose? Or is it going to be a different structure than that?
Is going to be a different structure than a 5 minutes spiel.
Okay.
I think because then we can have a broader, exposition of what us as you guys as candidates can offer, in terms of board, and and hopefully we can have the broader students see what will differentiate you guys and what you can offer to the Senate.
Okay. I'm just wondering if that differs from the instructions that were provided in the candidate package, the nomination package. But if that's what we're doing, that's what we're doing. Thanks for answering that.
No problem, Nicholas. Yes, Director Bothwell.
If we told the candidates that there was to be a 5-minute spiel, I don't think we should differ off of that. So I think we need to make it very clear of what we told them versus what we're doing here. Just because if we told them they have 5 minutes to present, we have to give them 5 minutes to present.
Okay. Yes, Director Vale.
Yeah, I would just echo that sentiment as well. If that's what I haven't had a chance to look at the package, but if that's what we told candidates, I think we sort of have to follow that, similar to the date issue with the date, some of the social media posts saying today was the deadline versus yesterday and that. So I just think we have to just kind of go with this. I mean,
Not a problem. Director Symington, do you share the same sentiments?
Yeah, Brandon took the words right out of my mouth specifically.
Okay, excellent. So for the sake of time, we can move forward. So I guess we can just move forward. 5 minutes for each candidate. in no particular order. Mai Dang, you can go ahead and I will counter.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Mai Dang, and I'm a third year BBA student at Laurier's Waterloo campus, and I am seeking elections to the position of Senate. And I've been an active member of the Laurier community. I've involved myself in several clubs and organizations on and off campus, which allows me to have an understanding of the students so that I can support students in regard to the students' academic. I am a residence life dawn, which helps first year students for the transitions from high school to university, and I have helped them to succeed academically and connect them to the resources for them to success in their first year. I'm also a locus dawn, which allows me to work with students, first year students who live off campus, and help them succeed academically and socially. I'm also a Laurier ambassador, which I works with a wide range of students who are interested in coming to Laurier and assist them with the anything about Laurier and answer any questions that they have about Laurier. I am very supportive to the students, and I have a good understanding of the students so that I can support them academically. It will be my privilege to advocate the policies and recommendations that enhance students' learning experience at Laurier and be a contributor to the community. It is my goal to ensure that everyone receives the level of academics and academic support that the students deserve, whether it is in person and online. And I will put my effort in evaluating new programs and modification of the programs to bring better learning experience for students, making academic resources and support clear and accessible for all students through communication, and especially when we are coming to transitioning to in-person learning, I will make sure to have a smooth transition and support from online to in-person learning, as well as improving the online learning experience, especially for first year and second year student. As an international, I am honored to have to be the voice of the students, and I think that international students have been it will be my privilege to be the voice of international students as well, to assist them not only from academic sides, but also from social and other sides. When they are studying at Laurier, I will be the students' voice to make sure that all the policies and decisions made by the board align with the best interests of students. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We can move on to the next candidate, and that'll be John, in no particular order.
Thank you. So hello, everyone. My name is John Reed, and I'm currently in my third year of the BBA program, working towards a minor in computer science. When I saw the opportunity to apply to the Laurier Senate, I was immediately interested. The ability to inspire actual change and benefit the entire student body is something that I am extremely passionate about. My drive to make Laurier a better place has led to my role as a training manager and instructor at Prism, as well as an executive on Foot Patrol. I'm deeply dedicated towards seizing the opportunity to improve and make measurable impact on the university experience of my peers. When I first started working at Prism, I instantly began looking for not only ways to improve current processes, but expanding into new offerings. I strive to make the service more useful and impactful for every student who uses Prism for now and into the foreseeable future. One of my major projects was introducing a certificate system so students who take our classes are better able to show off their newly learned skills and knowledge to possible employers. My other major project was creating and restructuring courses to better accommodate students who need knowledge on the software for upcoming co-op terms or for current courses. For the last 2 years, I have held a position at Foot Patrol, as I felt the need to give back to the school community by ensuring students feel safe, secure, and happy to be a part of the Laurier family. After my first year with Foot Patrol, I decided to expand my role as I saw the importance of the service and the impact we have on the Laurier community. For this reason, I've taken on the role of training executive, where I'm tasked with training incoming and returning members to ensure they follow correct procedure. With both these roles, I've been given the opportunity to meet, talk to, and create lasting relationships with a wide variety of students. With how often I interact with various members of the student body, I believe I have a strong grasp on the wants, needs, and desires of students. I have a deep understanding of what students want from their academics to their university experience and even to their social interests. I believe I can bring these ideas and desires from the student body to the Senate in hopes of inspiring genuine change that will not only make students feel represented, but make them feel as if they're part of something bigger. I appreciate all of you taking the time to listen and consider me for this position. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Next, we have Nicholas.
Sure. Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay, guys? Yeah, awesome. Well, I just want to start off by saying good evening, everyone, and I hope that you're doing very well, staying safe. I know it's definitely been a long semester and we're heading into exams, so I hope everybody's doing really well. I want to just start off by saying thank you for taking the time tonight and for listening into all the candidates and coming out here to learn about the candidates and what they have to offer for the Student Senate and ultimately elect 2 individuals to represent you and the student body here at Laurier. And I'm completely honored to be considered for this role, and I really do appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about myself in that decision, in making that decision and that choice in picking someone to elect. Now, having the ability to influence many decisions among the university and university-related matters is definitely something that's very important. And although it just scratches the surface of what the Senate does, it is a very extremely a crucial group at Laurier. And I believe that through both my experiences within the community and my dedication within Laurier and to my dedication to representing the student body, I make a pretty great candidate for the Student Senate. Now, with this in mind, I would like to take some time to kind of focus in on those 2 things and explain a little bit about why they do make me that a great candidate. So for starters, since joining the Laurier community, I've made a concerted effort to get involved. Since my first year, I've been involved in volunteering, working, and in many clubs on campus. And it was through these involvements that I've been able to connect with my peers and truly serve the Laurier community. In my first and second year, I've been involved with things such as foot patrol, ice breaking, and various clubs around campus. And this year I've actually expanded my involvement to becoming an executive on foot patrol within the SU and even a Laurier ambassador, which has allowed me to not only expand my knowledge within the Laurier community, but also develop and enhance my connection within the student body. And I believe it's these experiences that not only show you my dedication to the school, but also enhance my ability to be an effective leader at Laurier and effectively serve and represent the community. Now, in addition to not only what I've already done, it's what I want to bring to the table and what I want to bring to the Senate to really show you my dedication for the community. So it's my determination and my drive and my aspirations within the Senate. I'm an individual who aspires to be a leader within Laurier and someone who's not only capable of doing so, but truly enjoys representing my peers and representing the Laurier community. As you likely know, I ran for the board of directors last month, and although I'm unsuccessful, I'm out here again expressing my desire to continue to serve the Laurier community. And it's not for a title, not to put it on my resume, but rather because I do truly love being a Laurier leader. Being a leader within the community is something that I just absolutely love to do. And I believe it's this drive, this perseverance, and this passion that contributes to making me a great candidate for this role. Now, I understand with only 5 minutes or so of listening to each candidate speak, it's not an easy task to choose who'd like to represent you in the Senate. However, if there's one thing I'd like you to take away from what I said today, it's that I will do my absolute best to represent you and the student body through both my experience on campus and in the community and my determination to support and represent the students of Laurier in this position. I will put my best foot forward should I get elected tonight. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for listening to me speak today. I hope you consider me for this role of the student senator. And I think it's only appropriate for me to end off by saying, make Nick your pick for student senator. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you for all the statements from all our Senate candidates.
You've only done 3 candidates.
Oh, sorry, my
Yeah,
bad.
you have one more.
Yeah, sorry, Carl, you can go up next.
Good evening. Hope everyone is doing amazing on this beautiful Wednesday night. My name is Carl Zhu, and I'm a third-year Bachelor's of Computer Science at the University of Waterloo and a BBA double degree student here at Wilfrid Laurier University. I would like to be considered for the vacancy on the Senate because of my passion for student engagement and involvement. Having been a part of different councils, such as being a student councilor on the Waterloo Undergraduate Student Association last year and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police's National Youth Advisory Committee in the past, I believe that I'm a qualified representative for Wilfrid Laurier's undergraduates on the Senate. As well, I have a strong arsenal of involvement here at Wilfrid Laurier University, including past experience as a residence liaison, and I'm also currently employed as an instructional assistant for the Lazaridis School of Business and Economics. I would love to serve on the Senate to immerse myself in the operational side of policies, so I can take student input and turn it into reality. In addition, I have extensive experience in financial co-ops, allowing me to help plan for the Senate's financial health, both short-term and long-term. As well, I also have extensive experience in human resources, operations management. This allows me to create a long-term vision for Laurier organizational-wide. I'm excited to sit on the various committees and share my thoughts on how we can better reform and improve organizational policies for the satisfaction of our students. As well, I would love to be on the Senate because of my passion for directing and providing a strategic plan in the scope of nonprofit organizations. After starting my own nonprofit with a couple of my friends, I realized the importance of a clear and detailed vision on how to take nonprofit organizations to the next level. Here at Laurier, I have the opportunity to work with the other senators, directors, and the executives to truly conjure the best possible vision and mission that Laurier should undertake in the near future, 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Thank you so much for your time and consideration in advance, and I hope you will choose me as your next senator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Carl. Now that we have gone through all the candidates, my apologies for the little error on my end last time. We can open the floor for questions to these candidates. Yes, Director Vale.
Yes, and this is to each of the candidates, and then in whatever, I guess, random order you wish, Mr. Chair. So as a pre-context to this, the governance at Laurier falls under the Wilfrid Laurier University Act. Can you tell me what your understanding is of the relationship between the Senate and the Board of Governors?
Okay, so for this question here, we can go John first, then Nicholas, then Carl, then I.
So not having much experience with either being on the Senate or governor, I'm not too sure of the minute details, but I would assume that the two work together to create policies and look over policies and ensure that things run smoothly on that end. And then just working together in unison to make sure that the message that they're sending out to the Laurier community is exact and they're not giving different messages to confuse students.
Yeah, and I think that I'm next here. Just to kind of go off of what John was saying, again, having not served on the Senate or the Board of Governors either, not too familiar with the structure of how they work. But what I can say is that the Senate does have, it deals with its own concerns. It has its own subcommittees that deal with a lot of really great university affairs and things that really do affect students. So I can think of one thing, for example, is the credit withdrawal option that was put in place by the Senate last year. Whereas when you look at the governors, you can think of that as a little bit more of a operational and finance administration based a board. And so, there are some differences, but although, they may differ, in what they do day to day, they do work together to overall to strive to kind of see the university succeed and serve the students.
I would like to jump in here as Andrew has left the meeting. I will be chairing for the time being. So may Carl please present his answer.
Thank you so much, Director Vale, for your question. So in my understanding, the Board of Governors kind of ensures the overall organizational objectives for Laurier University. And liaises with faculty, with the president, with senior management of the university to ensure that Wilfrid Laurier University is on track to meet all of its objectives and its goals for the next n number of years. However, the Senate would be focusing more on policies and approving different policies, such as maybe adjusting the BBA curriculum and approving the adjustments to the BBA curriculum, or adjusting credit and non-credit policies on certain courses, or introducing new rules and new regulations for Wilfrid Laurier students and the organization as a whole. However, the two do work side by side to ensure that the overall and overall long-term health of Wilfrid Laurier University is sustaining and sustainable for the next N years. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. So to my understanding, the Board of Governors is responsible for the business of the university. So for example, administration, finances, or operation sides of the university, and Senates have more focused responsibilities for the academic side of the university, and they involved with the boards where academic matters has to deal with the business of the university and deal with a larger community. The Board of Governors will consult or seek approvals from the Senate if it's required for doing any changes relating to academic administration of the university, and the Senate represent the larger community or the students to be the voice of the students to show their approval or show their voice or their opinion in that policy or that decision-making process.
Okay, excellent. The next question will go with Director Phillips.
Yep, here, sorry, let me pull up my question for you here. So I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about an issue that you remember being handled by the Senate during your time here at Laurier, and whether or not you agree with that, that's a decision that the Senate had made.
The order for this question will be Nicholas first, then Carl, then May, and then John. Sorry, and then John.
Sure. So I mean, I answered this briefly and brought it up briefly in my last response, but when we were thinking about the pandemic and, you know, considering that credit withdrawal option that existed for the first semester there, my understanding is that the Senate was able to bring forth the approval of continuing that credit option for the terms going forward while we're still in the pandemic recovery. And so this is certainly something that I agree with and something that I think was a great initiative, seeing as we were not in a regular state of operation. We're not in person and kind of what we were used to. And so definitely an initiative that I support and something that I'm grateful for, you know, as a student, being able to kind of get that support for the student body.
Thank you, Director Phillips, for your question. So a policy that I remember the Senate approving during my time has been making July 2nd, 2021 a holiday, a university holiday. So this was a really great opportunity for a lot of students because, first off, normally in the spring term, there's not a reading week. So having 2 days, July 1st and July 2nd off, and then the weekend was a really good opportunity for students to kind of relax and rejuvenate over a 4-day long weekend. And this was also a great opportunity because this was still during the pandemic, and it gave professors and students the opportunity to really kind of acknowledge their resiliency and their hard work over this challenging time for everyone. So this was definitely something I agree with, because having an extra day to catch up on my academics and to even get ahead in my academics was a really, really great opportunity for me, considering this past spring term, I was a full-time student as well. So I definitely agree with this initiative that the Senate gave, and I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. One policy that I remember from that has approval of the Senate was the opportunities to do credit to credit on a maximum 0.5 credits or per term until we return to regular operation. And I really appreciate that decision, and I think it is a great opportunities and show that the Board of Governors understand these students, because as we are still doing online schools, there are a lot of struggles, and there's a lot of transitions from like in-person to online training, and there are a lot of people who are facing a lot of challenges and difficulties, but we have opportunities to do that credit option to 0.5 of the courses, or we have the chance to withdraw. So I think it is a good, it is a policy that I completely agree with, and it will show that the Board of Governors understand the students and gives the students less stress on their shoulders when it comes to studying, so that they can focus both on their mental health and focus on school.
Yeah, so a lot to reiterate, like the one policy that I remember through my term, same with Nicholas and is the credit option. I really like this option. Just with talking to so many people, the transition from in-class to online was very difficult for a lot of people. And approving this policy really showed that the university cared and was looking out for the best interest of all the students. And then looking forward, just with policies, is probably mostly going to be around how we transition from online back to class, and understanding that students won't want to give up the credit option, but how do we transition back and look forward and make sure that people's interests are being best looked after.
Well, thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for everyone to answer that question. We can move on to the next one by Vice Chair Sneedy.
Thank you. So on that note, quickly, are there any policies that the Senate has passed during the pandemic that you would either be in favor of keeping or withdrawing?
The order of this question can be Carl, John, and then Nicholas.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for your question. Definitely, as mentioned before, I would definitely keep the credit option because it gives students a very positive alternative to their academics. We all know that over the pandemic, it has been a stressful time for many students, and as a result, their academic performance may have not as been as stellar as a normal in-person term. As a result, by having this credit option for 0.5 credits, gives students the reassurance that they can rely on this, and they can use this option to negate the impact of a stressful term on their academic record. And I think that we should definitely keep this in the future as well, because as university students, mental health is definitely an issue that pertains to all of us. And by having this reassurance, by letting us know that we can always convert one class to a credit option, gives us the motivation, gives us the drive to know that no matter what happens, our academic record won't be truly impacted because of this option. And in the future, as Wilfrid Laurier University prides itself on student satisfaction, this should definitely be a policy that we should consider continuing with in the future, because of the flexibility and the versatility that it gives the students, and the mental health benefits that it gives to all of us. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. So one of the policy that I really hope that the university will consider to keep in the next school year would be the removal of response-less lockdown browser, the use of webcam during the exams. I have talked to a lot of students, my peers and other students, and they have a lot of stress on their shoulders when it comes to exams with the webcam, because they have to make sure that they follow the instruction, or they feel really stressed when they're being watched during the exams. So with the new policy of removal of that webcam for online exams have reduced a lot of stress on my shoulder, including myself. And I think that it is a great policy to consider in the next terms, because there's still online classes, and with that remove out of the exam policy, that could help the students reduce a lot of stress during exams, and they can be more comfortable and focus on their academics. So I think this is a great policy, and this is also having the students have more flexibilities, and they feel more confident going to the exams as well. So I think this is a great policy, and I hope that it will be considered to keep during the next school term.
So for me, I'm going to continue talking about the credit option. I think with regards to this policy, I think it can be constantly reevaluated, but just for the foreseeable future, going back into person could be an even greater shock than going online, and could cause similar, if not more, mental health concerns. So I think keeping this option for the future of just getting through the shock of going online or going back into person. It was initially introduced, I'm assuming, because of the shock of going online and not understanding the impact that has on students. I think there'll be a similar impact, as I said, if not more, getting back into person, as that will be very weird because we've spent so much time online. So I think keeping this into the future, at least for the next few terms, as people transition back to what was initially the norm, I think would be very beneficial to the student body.
Thank you for that question there, Vice Chair. I'm actually going to differ a little bit with some of the other candidates here, and I'm also going to speak about the credit option. But when we look at our pandemic recovery and the process that we've taken here at Laurier so far, I see that this fall term as kind of a transitionary term and kind of getting back into that in-person courses. So having about half of my courses in person and still having that flexibility of that credit option has been absolutely excellent. It's been a really great way for at least me to experience, not only getting back into person, but also still having that flexibility of being in that pandemic recovery mode. So I'd say that right now we're in that transitionary stage, and going forward, we might have to start considering potentially removing that option once we do get back to normal operation. Because at the end of the day, when we look at the reason it was put in place was because of the shock of the pandemic. And as John says, it is a shock, of course, but I think that it will not be as much of a shock going back into regular school term, seeing as we've had this transitionary term in this fall. But also, it's not that it's unexpected we're going back. It's been planned now for a few months, and I think that it'd be reasonable to uphold the integrity of our school to potentially consider removing that option in the future.
Thank you, Candace, for answering the Vice Chair's question. Next, we can move on to Director Del Giudice.
Good evening, candidates. Thank you all for coming out. My question to you is, tell me about a time when you demonstrated leadership and what was the outcome of that particular situation?
The order of the questions with this time will be Mai, and then John, then Nicholas, and then Carl.
Thank you for the question. So for a time that I demonstrated leadership was when I was working on a case competition with 3 of my peers, and I took the leadership role in that group setting. We have to work on a case about in 2 days, and it is a very tight deadline. I took initiative in setting up meetings and show my organizational skills by asking everyone availabilities, and then set up a meeting so that everyone can come and discuss. I also resolve conflicts by talking to each of the member individually and making sure that they are listened, but we also come to a decision making as a team. I show my leadership skills by check up on everyone, shows my support, and making sure that we are on the right track. I also show my communication skills by communicating with my team members frequently. And if they have any questions or need any support, I will be the person that they can contact. And the result was we got the third place in the case competition, and there are about 25 teams in the whole competitions. So by having that leadership skills, I think it could be very beneficial for this Senate position, because acting as leader of Lauriers and being the voice of the students, I will be able to show my leadership skills to this position and continue to making sure that the Laurier students community thrive and succeed, and being a leader for the Laurier community, I will make sure that everyone is listened and ensuring the success of all students.
Okay, thank you. So as prior mentioned in my 5-minute spiel, I'm actually the training manager at Prism Resources as well as an instructor. This meaning that I run a team of 5 instructors constantly throughout the term. Through this, I've gotten very good at leadership qualities. I constantly check in with my team, ensuring that they're instructing their courses to the highest quality they can and providing them with the resources to do so. I also run and assist all of my instructors with assignments. So checking in with them and making sure they're following proper timelines and helping them to create those timelines and making sure that they're realistic timelines so they're able to follow them. Through this, I've shown that I have great communication to reach out to my team. I'm not concerned about communicating and standing up and presenting to a team. I've also had experience running projects and creating timelines to successfully run projects. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, I think that this is, a very important question, especially for the context of the role that we're going for. And I just bring up two examples here. When we're thinking about leadership, I think about somebody that's able to not only, drive the train operationally, but strategically, and kind of get things where they need to be today, and also steer it to where it needs to go in the future. So with that said, I'm thinking about Foot Patrol, where I'm an executive, the logistics executive. And so it's my job to kind of schedule the team as need be and as fit to run a successful operation. And so day to day, I get those schedules made and available and built out for the team so we can operate successfully. But also in the context of pandemic recovery and what we've seen coming back on campus after not working for almost a year, it's been a little bit of a challenge to kind of project on and put together how we're going to successfully get back to campus and serve the Laurier community. And so I think that leading as in my role and being able to kind of put forth my ideas and my plans and what I think would be most successful to get us back into full operation on campus. In that role in particular, my logistics role, and being able to kind of work with the with my leaders to put together and lead our group of general members in building our schedule and building out our operation has been a really, really great opportunity for me. And so, I would like to reflect that and translate that into the Senate and bring those skills forth to the table.
Thank you so much, Director, for your question. I think a time where I demonstrated leadership, well, one of the examples could be right now, because I decided to take the initiative to file a nomination package and to declare my candidacy for the Senate. However, a more relevant example could be where I served as a VP Finance for the Golden Hack, so Wilfrid Laurier University's business and technology focused hackathon, a competition where teams of 4 can come together and create a project over the course of 24 hours. So I had a team of financial analysts that reported to me, and over the course of 10 months, we worked together within our own team and then with other sub-teams. So the operations team, with the web development team, with the marketing team, to create one of Wilfrid Laurier's premier events. And we had weekly meetings, we had meetings with each other where we talked about how we can allocate certain pieces of the budget to certain pieces of the event, how we can purchase materials, how we can purchase prizes, how we can purchase maybe swag and merchandise for our attendees, and how we can basically secure food, secure venues, and all of that. And in the end, last year, we had a very successful virtual event with over 150 participants from all around the world, basically. We had students from Laurier, we had students from UW, we had students from India all come onto our Discord server and participate in the event over the course of the 24 hours. And this past year, we had a hybrid event. So we were in the Lazaridis Hall, and we had students come by to pick up some swag and merchandise, as well as we had viewing parties there. And overall, it was definitely a really successful event. However, I really do credit the success to my team, because we had a great chemistry bond between all of us, and we all worked simultaneously in sync with each other to kind of ensure that our overall objective of a successful event for Wilfrid Laurier University was broadcasted to the public. And over the course of the 10 months, we worked hand in hand, and we made sure that the budget was accurate. We made sure that everything, all the logistics were coordinated and were accurate and executed well, so that the Golden Hack would be a success. I hope that answers your question.
Great, thank you for answering the question. So at this point, if any other directors want to ask any question, we're going to cap the speakers list after that. And for the sake of time moving forward, all candidates will have only 1 minute to answer the remaining questions as presented. So next we can move forward with Director Bothwell.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging in there and motoring through this. I know we've been asking you a lot of questions, but you're doing a great job. So I just wanted to get you guys to name a time where you had to make a critical decision and elaborate on how it impacted the people around you and how you dealt with their emotions.
Okay, thank you for the question. So reminder, candidates here have 1 minute to answer the question. We'll go first with John, then Nicholas, Carl, and then Mon.
So to mention, once again, my position at Prism, just running a team. With decisions, I feel like I've recently been working on an event to bring to Laurier through Salesforce. And with this, I've had to make a few critical decisions just based on budgeting and providing the event with the correct budget and ensuring that we're able to deliver the event at the highest quality we can while staying within the budget. And so having to make decisions based around that on prizes to give out, the amount of attendees we can have, and for example, gifts we have to give to the presenters just to thank them for coming. These are decisions that have impacts on the people around me. Laurier students being the amount of attendees, the more we have, the more people we can help out, and just maximizing that budget and making decisions to do so. Thank you.
That's a really great example there. When I'm going to answer this question, it's actually going to be not quite school related or something that I've done on campus, but you know, off campus, having a job full-time in the summer and part-time otherwise, working at McDonald's as a manager. I'm actually responsible for some working with the team and leading them to success. And, you know, working with them and during this time in the pandemic has been, you know, very difficult, especially at the very beginning. And so making those critical decisions as a floor manager at McDonald's at the very beginning of the pandemic specifically, and having to make those critical decisions of how to operate effectively, but most notably safely. So kind of taking into account the thoughts of all the employees and working with my upper management and kind of developing a plan to strategically move forward and be safe and conscious of everything is one way that I've demonstrated that.
Thank you so much for your question. I think a time where I demonstrated critical decision-making probably was during my co-ops, my past co-op experiences. And for example, every single day I was presented with different bugs in the software that we were building. And it really was a crucial task to determine how to debug and how to patch up these bugs, because the wrong move could influence and make the overall software break, and then hundreds, if not thousands of customers would not be able to access the software and lose access to their finances or lose access to their personal information. So it's definitely really, really important to understand and to know how we could patch up these bugs, which frameworks to use, which infrastructure tools to use. And in the end, after consultation with my supervisors, with my colleagues, we were able to do a critical analysis of every single possible alternative. And after evaluating the different alternatives, we were able to—
Sorry, you're past 1 minute. Thank you. We can move on to the next candidate.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. And as a co-president of the Laurier Vietnamese Student Associations, I have to make a lot of decisions. And being a leader, it took a lot of times to come up with the right decision. And when I directly manage 4 VPs and executives within the organizations, I provide support and create the right culture to solve problems in a team environment. I also establish governance, club policies, and handle complaints from partners and club members. And while establishing new policies and governance, I have made a lot of decisions, and I consult with other executives and VPs to make sure that we follow the right guidelines. I also check out the student union website to make sure that we are following the right policies. And I also use a lot of communication skills to communicate with other executives so that we understand each other and we listen to each other. I think this is very important to make hard decisions and listen to other people before making the decision, so that as a senator, I would be able to listen to other students and give the decision myself.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you, candidates, for answering the question. We can move on to Director Symington's question.
Hey guys, sorry I can't come at you with a webcam, but that's whatever. First, I just want to say you guys, I think you guys are doing great, and we all appreciate you coming out for your candidacy. So I think that's awesome to see so many candidates here today. So with respect to my question, I'm of the belief that in order to properly and effectively govern the student body in the community, you got to have a pretty accurate pulse of what's going on campus and like with the various pockets of Laurier students in the community. So why do you feel out of all 4 candidates that you're the most in touch with the wants and needs of our student body and community?
Okay, excellent question from Director Symington. So the order will be Nicholas, Carl, then May, and then John.
Sure, yeah, thank you for that question, Director Symington. I think that, you know, it's one thing to put numerous things on your resume or to have numerous titles and jobs, and it's another thing to have meaningful you know, community relations and things of that sort around the campus. And so in being a student here at Laurier, I've done exactly that, and I've put together myself to kind of have and reach all the kinds of different aspects of the community. So whether it's volunteering with the SU through Foot Patrol and being an executive, or working on campus, working as an ambassador and connecting with those prospective students, or working, I actually work for ICT. So if you ever need any tech support, you can email me. But having those jobs and also being part of those clubs and associations, you know, LIFA at the Lazarita student, LazSoc, or you know, going bowling with some of the other clubs here on campus, and even getting involved in intramurals, with whether it's dodgeball or something like that. I feel like I've meaningfully I'm sorry, are you cutting me? Sorry,
no, I was giving you 5 seconds, but yes.
Sorry, meaningfully made a connection all around campus.
Okay. Thank you, Nicholas. Sorry for cutting off.
No worries.
Thank you so much, Director, for your question. So I think for me personally, throughout my past involvement experiences here at Wilfrid Laurier University, I've been able to build strong interpersonal connections with many different students. So for example, in the role of Residence Lifelong, I've been able to really relate and empathize with many first-year students and students that have never been on campus before, as well as part of LASOC and different other student organizations on campus. I've been able to really relate and build strong connections with different student populations, different student groups. Finally, I am fluent in 3 languages, allowing me to really be able to talk and speak with students that speak these languages natively and help them feel at home and help them understand that I'm here to support them and I'm here to help them and that I can bring their voices and their ideas to reality. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. Building that meaningful connections has been my motivations and my inspiration to get involved within the community. I've seen that building meaningful connections is something that I always want to do, and having that interpersonal skills I developed through multiple roles. I am a Residence Lifelong and a Locust Dawn, which allows me to have both on-campus and off-campus students to transit into university and support in any ways I can. I also a Laurier ambassador, where I help students and get them involved with Laurier and show them and answer any questions that they have about Laurier. I also have a great interpersonal skills by being the leaders in some of the organizations and club that I'm a part of, and I have actively connect with other executives to build that meaningful connections.
I think for me, it's all about keeping an open mind for through Foot Patrol, through Prism, through intramurals, just being on a team with a bunch of free agents. I feel like just listening to people. I always like keeping an open mind. I always like hearing people's opinions. And for me, I feel like I talk to a bunch of different people from so many different walks of life and so many different areas of Laurier, and just getting their opinions and just keeping an open mind and always taking them into consideration is so important. Just kind of using those to not become my beliefs, but fuel my beliefs and feel what I believe is important. If you hear an issue enough, then it probably is an overall issue, and just being open-minded to hear that issue over and over and realize, yes, that's an issue that we need to address and we need to look for a solution for.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions, then the final one will go to Director Vail.
I actually have 2 here. So my first one is, given that the Senate is quite large at 77 members and consists of over 50% faculty members, what would you do to ensure that the student voice is heard? And I'm going to add a bit of context just in light of some of the responses sort of throughout the question period so far. And that, and take this in with the context that as well, that even though you are a student representative on the Senate, you have a duty to ensure the really the best interest, uphold the best interests of the university. So that would mean really the more strategic lens in terms of the, balancing the interests of academic integrity and rigor to ensure the reputation of our academic programs and degrees while balancing the student. So how, and touch on maybe how you can kind of balance those sort of competing, what might seem at times to be competing interests potentially.
Okay, so for the first question, the order will be Carl, May, John, and then Nick.
Thank you so much for your question. So to answer that, how I would balance the different competing priorities, I would say definitely I would understand what exactly the university is looking for, what exactly is in the university strategic long-term plan, and ensure that everything is aligning with that. And then going over the other competing priorities and seeing which ones align with that and which ones don't. And for the ones that don't align with that, I would then consult with the student population, consult with the board of directors and other senators, as well as the board of governors, to see how we can better customize and how we can better adjust these competing priorities to ensure that they are aligned with the overall strategic long-term vision of Wilfrid Laurier University, and how we can better suit them to ensure that we are following and that these competing priorities are in fact made a reality as well. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. So for different priorities, and I think that it is for sure will happen. And as there's a lot of things coming in, and there's a lot of decision makings and policies, but in order to prioritize different things, I will for sure making sure that I understand the role and the university act or the policy very clearly first. I have to have a good understanding before I make any decision, and I have to have myself a good knowledge of the policies and the act, so that before I make any decision, it aligns with the universities and the students community. And as I mentioned in the previous answer, that I have a very good interpersonal skill, so that I can connect with the larger students community and have their concerns, or I can have their opinions, so that I have different opinions and different thoughts from a lot of students and from the students community. So I will be able to prioritize and give the right decisions, and making sure that I understand it very well before I make the decision.
Yeah, so I think the overall issue would be balancing the wants of the students and the restraints of the overall of Laurier. With looking towards what the students' interests are, I think you have to understand their interests and then in moderation. A bunch of different people can tell you something similar, but it's not always going to be the same. And then it's those students that you can go back to once you have the knowledge of the restraints of the school and have those meaningful conversations to really work out a solution that will make sense for both parties. And you can work those solutions through once you have the understanding of both sides.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Director Vale. I think this is actually a very important question, considering, the structure of the Senate and the way it runs. And, I'm going to start off by answering this by saying that the university is run in such a way that the students, without the students, there would not be university. So first and foremost, we need to consider the fact that the university's objectives should be to make these students, should be to provide the students with what they want. So I think that, considering those competing objectives, and as were mentioned, throughout our discussion here, I think they actually work hand in hand. And sometimes we need to consider the fact that some of the things that the university does want to do is what's going to be, what's going to affect the students, and what's going to make the students happy. Albeit there will be scenarios where maybe that's not what's going to be the best interest of the university, and strategically, operationally might not work. I think at the end of the day, if our job is done correctly, we'll not only be able to guide the strategic plan of the school and also help the students.
Okay, so I believe Director Vale had another question.
Yeah, the last one is, let me find it here. If you could make a change to any academic policy at the university, what would it be and why? And that's the first part. And the second part is, what would you do to see that this policy change could be made?
Okay, so for that question, the order will be I, then John, then Nick, and then Carl.
Yeah, so I think one of the policy that I would like to make is I hope to have that options of having that credits option continue even if we return to in-person operation. So I know that mentioned in the fall term that it will stop when we return to normal operation, but I think that they will give the students a lot of flexibilities, and it reduces the stress of the students. And I think too, since we did this in the past, so it's very easy to cooperate this policy and continue to use this policy in the normal study terms. And I think that the students will have a lot of stress off their shoulders, and they have more time to focus on their mental health or their social aspect of their university experience.
For me, it's kind of working off the credit option, but I think going back to school after being online for so long is such a prevalent issue. It's hard to stray away from it. I think with returning back to school, setting up a policy towards just help towards mental health, understanding that this transition back will be very difficult for people. Not being the credit option, just being students will have stress levels that are very high, and setting up support programs, something that's very easy to approach. So that's how I would make sure that it's followed through, is make sure that it's easy to approach and students don't feel concerned about coming to us and saying, I have an issue returning to school. Can I be excused from maybe a midterm, maybe an assignment, and being able to work through solutions with professors and with students to make sure that their stress levels don't get to an unreasonable level.
Yeah, sure. I don't think I have an example that's as broad reaching, but when I've been speaking with some of my friends and people in programs, one thing that's come up is actually the co-op program within double degree and the way that it works for students that drop out of double degree. And from what I've heard, and for people in the program, they actually are no longer eligible for co-op if they go from double degree to single degree. And that's just one small thing I've heard from some of my friends and people in that program. And I think it's maybe a small item on the surface and only affecting a small group of individuals, but something that I'd potentially like to bring to the table and have that open discussion to see if, maybe those people are still eligible to continue that co-op program if they have good grades and whatever the case may be. So I think that would be one thing I'd like to consider bringing to the table.
Thank you so much for your question. One thing that I would kind of implement would be reading week during the spring term, even if it's 2 or 3 days. I just think having a break during the spring term in comparison to having the reading weeks in the following winter terms allows students to also have a break and to have a period of time where they can catch up on their academics and get some deserved rest and relaxation to kind of help build back up their mental health for the remaining of the spring term. So having a 2-3 day break in between definitely helps. And I know that the spring term is shorter than the other terms. So to make this a reality, I would definitely work with the deans and faculty, as well as the Board of Governors and Senate, to see if there's any flexibility in adjusting the academic calendar to ensure that there could be 2 or 3 days in between the spring term to offer that break for students, just so that students have the time to rest, relax, and get back on track for the remaining of the term. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you all candidates for answering all the questions. So at this point, the questions period is over, and now the board will commence the secret ballot. So how this will work is that the board will go into a breakout room, and the secret ballot will be then proceeded. No discussion, no further discussion amongst the board members are really is the purpose of this breakout room is just to facilitate the vote. And once the vote is completed, we will call the scrutineers in, and we'll come back out with the results of the vote. So I have created the breakout room, so board members could please enter and join. We'll also pause the recording for the voting period. Yeah. The board has now finished voting via secret ballots, so I will now invite the scrutineers to come in to review the results, and we'll come back in with that. So give me 1 second. Okay, thank you. We'll be back shortly. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So the scrutineers have finally had a chance to confirm the integrity of the ballot, the secret ballot. So I'd like to first of all say thank you for all candidates who come out today, especially this late night, and for your interest in the Senate vacancy. So I would like to wholeheartedly announce that the winners of the Senate by-election are John Reed and Carl Zhu. So can we give a big round of applause for both of them, and also a big round of applause for all candidates who came out today. I know that this was a opportunity that a lot of you guys were really interested in, but I will say this, that for those who are still interested in running the Senate, you are less than 1 month away from receiving the nomination packages and having a chance to actually serve a full 2-year term on the Senate. And we have 6 spots available, 6 spots on the Senate, 12 for the directorship and 1 for the governorship. So plenty of opportunities there in the broader scheme. But with that being said, can I get a motion on the board for the acclamation of John Reed as well as Carl Zhu to the Senate to fulfill the remainder of the terms until June 2022. Motion by Director Vale, seconded by Vice Chair Sneedy. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on matter?
Congratulations to the winners.
Of course, absolutely. I know it doesn't feel like that since we're all on Zoom, but if we were all in person, we would give a big round of applause for everyone who came out tonight. But other than that,
Andrew,
yes.
you said acclamation. They weren't acclaimed. There was an election.
Sorry. Yes, but there was an election, but they were, sorry, my apologies, like for them to fulfill the rest. So non-acclamation, my apologies, rephrase that. But all those in favor? Director Bothwell,
I approve.
Director Bryant,
I approve.
Director Shando,
I approve.
Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director McCarthy,
I approve.
Director Phillips,
I approve.
Director Symington,
I approve.
Director Vale.
I approve, but did you have a seconder or mover or seconder at all in this motion?
Yes, the second.
Unless I missed it.
Sneedy.
Okay.
And then I believe you were the mover.
Yeah, we just got caught up in the discussion there. So, okay, like
No problem.
that's why, just making sure.
Of course, and Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
Motion passes with unanimous consent. Now that the board, we will be in contact to the candidates who won with the university secretary's office. So you will be in contact with them soon. And the first Senate meeting of your term will be, if I'm not mistaken, although someone can correct me, December 2nd. So keep an eye out your emails for that.
It'd be Thursday, December 2nd at 2:30.
Excellent, perfect. You got the exact time now. So with that said, we can move on to finally back to the regular board agendas, which is first comments of the chair and the CGO. So I do have quite a few comments, but we will discuss most of them during our other discussion items with the amended agenda. But the first thing that I would also like to finally announce is that we have our new board secretary, Shreyas, and I would love to give him the opportunity to welcome himself to the board and to introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Shreyas. I'm a third-year health science student. Super excited for this role and being part of this board as well. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure that the rest of the board shares my sympathies in terms of how excited we are to be able to work with you for the remainder of our term. And we'll definitely, especially once we can get some in-person meetings back, I'm sure the work will very much be very exciting. But great big round of applause for everyone for Shreyas for his first day on the job. And yes, another health science student on the board too as well. But yes, other than that, I also would like to another new hiree too as well for her first meeting today in her role. I'd like to welcome Karneet as the new Chief Returning Officer. So for those who not know, Karneet was also a previous director too as well, but I would like her to give an introduction to the rest of the board.
Hi everyone, my name is Karneet and this is Hazel, my dog. She's kind of napping but also awake. It's past her bedtime. Anyways, I am a political science major. A little bit about my involvements on campus. I am the co-president of APSS, which is the Association of Political Science Students. So we're pretty much just the direct liaison between the political science department and political science students. We are a nonpartisan club, so all the activities that we host on campus or virtually don't have to do with anything. We don't take a stance on any political ideologies, and we, again, stay neutral. Another involvement I have on campus is I am a campus ambassador, so I am one of 60 faces for Laurier when it comes to speaking with prospective students and selling Laurier and all the wonderful opportunities we have for students to take part in when they come to Laurier. And just a little bit about Andrew, do you want me to talk about what we've been working on since I started, or?
We can save that for the actual discussion point there. But nonetheless, we have some really great ideas and some discussions regarding for the election. If anyone has any questions regarding the hiring, we do have the board ad hoc hiring committee update to just give you a briefing of kind of like how we came to conclusions with both of our hirees too as well. So that's where you have the opportunity to ask questions regarding that. But otherwise, does anyone have any questions for myself as chair of the board and CGO? Yes, Director Gale.
Yeah, just a standing item I wanted to follow up from, I guess, probably back in May again, and to see if we have any update on is the live streaming of our meetings. And if we aren't able to do the method that one of the operations teams members, I believe, was looking into at the time, that discussion around like that there might be a sort of free way to do it, then maybe we just look at buying the 1 year $130, whatever it is, license. And that way, just I think just to help really better engage with the ownership.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we did have a conversation, myself, PJ, and Josh on the Bradford campus, who was the operations person who had an idea of how to live stream it. But after our first meeting together with some promise, we unfortunately haven't followed up on that. So I believe that what we can do is that with the by-elections kind of all completed and with us moving into the elections period, we can use December as the time to really focus on and, you know, see if we can acquire that. So I can promise updates before the end of the year, if that is possible in your time frame. Director.
Sure. No, I think that's good. I think we need just to make sure it gets done. That's all. Just because, I mean, I realize that the board, we've had a lot of other pressing matters, but I think this is something that's, important.
No, absolutely. So yeah, so I will fully admit that there has been a many number of distractions on my end. So I'm trying to use this current time now, once all the other administrative duties are over, to focus on the house cleaning items of a lot of governance items this winter. So I'll make a note of that and hopefully can provide some sort of updates to you by next week's December 1st meeting, if that is to your liking. And I think that should be satisfactory. Perfect. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and it does, and a lot of it just stems on the challenges of the Zoom recording piece in terms of just having them being posted and then the deletion after the 90 days and all those. So that this is sort of I think
we are actually I can give you an update on that. So we're working with Ian and Phil to try and find some sort of platform where I can actually just download them and put them on, kind of almost like Dropbox, but something a bit more permanent. So then they no longer have that deletion problem, and that will actually be beneficial because then all board members can easily access this stuff. So it's a team on Teams, like Microsoft SharePoint. I believe other parts of the university, such as the are going to be are using this method. So that way we can migrate all this information there, so even directors can easily just have access to even previous year materials, if that makes sense. So that's just a little follow-up to that second point of your question there. Is there, other than that, is there any other questions for myself as chair of the board and CGO? As I see none, we can next move on to comments of the president and CEO. So I'll pass off to President Jan Lochner.
Hi, I don't have anything at the moment pertaining to this evening.
Okay. Other than that, we can open up to questions. Does anyone have any questions for President, CEO? Yes, Director Vale.
I don't want to be the only one asking questions, all the hard questions tonight, but just through you, Mr. Chair, to Madam President, I guess I'm just wondering if we can get kind of an update on I believe it was tabled, the monitoring report back in the end of August, early September, if I'm not mistaken, on that quarterly monitoring report for the September period, and then I believe the one is coming up due soon. I know, and that was one of the items that was flagged on my finance committee's report as well. That that section was just reported as non-compliant. So I'm just wondering if there's an update on when the board can expect that information.
Apologies, in late August?
I believe it would have been late August or early September meeting, if I'm not mistaken. It would have been in your monitoring reports.
Any information that I recall from late August was sent to Andrew to be sent to the.
I could potentially add into this because I did have a conversation with Phil and Ian on this. So this was also something mentioned in the Finance Committee report. It was just a quarterly report. But the board just failed to ask for it at the time, and we're in the process of getting it prepared for the December 1st meeting. Phil and Ian, you can step in to correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Full disclosure, I don't recall. But yeah, the board has not specifically asked for it in quite some time, I don't think. But we're happy to provide that whenever the request is made.
Yeah. I think all other questions just request to Chris Turner, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe we had this in our meeting yesterday. Just a brief little touch on that there. So yeah, so hopefully that answers the director question.
Yeah, it was just in relation to the fact that like that section was just reported as non-compliant in the president's monitor report then. And then I believe there was a one due at the end of December. I can't recall the exact date in the policy manual that off the top of my head, but I just wanted to flag those. Just I know next week's our last meeting for the year as it stands now.
So I suppose we can just take this as the board formally requesting a quarterly report be provided from the August as well as the one for the end of September.
For the following meeting for next Wednesday?
If possible. Or at the earliest convenience, if that is not possible.
Yes, I believe, I can't recall off the top of my head. The one I believe was for the period ending at the end of August or September under the policy. I don't have the benefit of the, give me a second here. And then, but I can't remember when the other period ends under the policy manual. Just, why don't I pull up my report? Just bear with me, okay. Under EL 2E7, under evidence 1, it was reported as non-compliant until a quarterly report was to be provided to the board in September as an appendix, which the board hasn't received.
If you're referring to the appendix that was like blurry,
No, this is a different, this is the quarterly report one. Yeah.
Okay, I can follow up and get back to Andrew at some point in the next this week. Is that satisfactory?
Sure, I think just as long as we're addressing the non-compliant item at some point, I think this year, or maybe even our first meeting if needed in this January, just given that there's sort of only a week here, depending on sort of the operational workload.
Yeah, that would be really helpful if we can just take a look at it tomorrow or throughout the workday.
I can use this as I said, just a formal request to get that process started as soon as possible. So starting tomorrow. Okay. Other than that, does anyone else have any questions to President and CEO Yanlock? As I see now, we can move on to comments from the executive director and COO Champagne. So I'll pass it off to him.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to update based on the time, but one thing that I did want to follow up on was sorry, I was going to say Raptors update, but that's not right. The Wilth update for in-person pilot is going to be starting on December 6th. And it is going to be during the lunch period only. And they are going to cap their capacity at 60. With the hope to have no more than 15 to 20 open menus at a time in an effort to be able to kind of handle the capacity of people at any given time, if that makes any kind of sense.
No, that does make sense. And that sounds very, very exciting. With that being said, does anyone have any questions for our executive director and COO?
And there will be a full regular report at next week's board meeting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. As I don't see any other questions, we'd like to thank the executive director for his time. Next, we can move on to the board ad hoc hiring committee update. So just to give a quick process just for transparency. So the committee met in regards for both the secretary as well as CRO. That committee consisting of myself, Director Vale, Director Judy Che, Vice Chair Sneedy, Director May, as well as Director Shandok. The candidates were reviewed in a blinded process, so all the resumes and cover letters were had without the personal information on. And then once they went to the second stage, then we got the sorry, my apologies. Yes, Vice Chair Sneedy was not on the CRO hiring committee due to conflict of interest. Just for clarification, he was on for the secretary hiring, and in his place it was Director Phillips, I believe. And so the resumes were blinded and unblinded at the second stage of the hiring process, and then the interviews were performed, and they were done so by a rank match process with assumptions made for those sitting members who had clearly a conflict of interest or even a risk of perception of conflict of interest. But with that being said, does anyone have any questions regarding the hiring committee process? Okay, as I see none, then I'm excited now to pass it forward to our CRO, Karneet, to discuss some of the updates that we have been in conversation about regarding the elections policy in the upcoming election. So I'll pass it off to her.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. So I'm just going to go over a few things that Andrew and I were discussing since I started my term as CRO. So we are going to be meeting with Megan, who is the Director of Marketing for the operations team, in regards to any marketing campaigning that we want to do, not only before the election when it comes to putting out the nomination packages, but also during the election. So we came up with some ideas for some like video campaigns. One, for example, is the Why Run campaign. We're thinking about renaming it, but I'll just give you the gist of it. We're looking to reach out to past presidents, directors, student senators, and student governors for a quick Q&A video asking about their experience and how it's helped them with their careers now. As well, it's kind of going to be like, I'm hoping for it to be sort of similar to like, I don't know if you've guys seen the 73 Questions Vogue videos. We're obviously not going to ask 73 questions, but it'll be a similar style because it is engaging and it is fun to watch. And then we're also going to have a Why Vote campaign. So we're going to be outlining the importance of voting in an election that directly affects students because they are members of the Students' Union. And we're also going to be having a myth-busting roles video campaign where we're going to have current student senators, student governors, board of directors, as well as the president and CEO of the Students' Union to do a quick video just listing off the facts of what the job entails, and also just listing off some myths that some people may have when they are thinking of the roles. And just in addition to that, we've kind of planned out some tentative dates for when we're going to release the Deputy Returning Officer application. So we're looking to release that on November 26th and have it due on December 8th. And we're looking to release the nomination packages after running it by the board of directors on December 1st. And we're going to have weekly information sessions following the release of nomination packages. And we also will be releasing the elections volunteers applications on December 6th. And the all candidates meeting, I think that was already set in stone. I'm not sure. I have a bunch of dates here, but it's going to be on January 9th, 2022. And yeah, that just covers the plans that we have right now. And yeah, do you want me to go over the elections policies that we were working on and share my screen?
So before you do that, I believe we have a question, Director Bothwell.
I just wanted to point out that I am loving your marketing ideas, especially like letting people know what different roles do. I noticed that when we were going on campus and trying to get people to vote for the by-election, no one knew what the student union did, and like everyone was really confused when we were like, yes, the board of directors like makes decisions pertaining to like how your student fees are spent. So I just wanted to echo that. I think all your marketing ideas sound really great. So
Thank you. Thank you.
We also have a really fun idea too as well to separate the roles. We can't take the credit. I have to give that credit to where it's due, which is from Ian, which is we can have something called like myth busting the role, which I think would be great to kind of like explain what the different roles are and what they do. And I think, echo some of the questions that we asked the senators today, actually, the Senate candidates too as well. Before we get into the updates, I know the meeting is getting late and we did go a bit over time with the Senate by-election. So do we have like a general consensus from the board that we want to review some of the election policy changes? I think it would be prudent, even though it will cost us a little bit more time tonight. Okay, yes, Director Dale.
Yes, I would agree. I think there's elements. I think the signature aspect has been talked about. I know at this board meeting at times, the code of conduct aspects and just some of these different pieces. So I think now, and this is just an honest question, is having this done by next Monday, I guess, because the agenda in theory will be out 48 hours in advance, enough time to get this work done.
We've actually done a majority of the review of the election policies already. And we're prepared to present that, or the CRO, I believe, is prepared to present it to the board. So what we could do is maybe quickly go through the main points, which are, I would believe, the signature aspect, maybe some of the, as you say, code of conduct aspects too as well, and change with like, this, what a hybrid election might look like too as well, if the board feels that they're okay to extend this meeting a little longer tonight. Yes, Director Bothwell.
I do think we need to be cognizant of the time. Like, what can you ballpark how long you think this will take? Because we do have to do midterm reviews tonight.
Yes.
And I don't want to be in a position where we have to push those off again, because if we're ending up doing midterm reviews at near 11 p.m., they won't be productive. So I just want to point that out.
Okay, Director Vale.
Yeah, I would echo Director Bothwell's comments. I think the more prudent approach here, I mean, since we don't even have the benefit of, and I understand there's a lot that's come down in the last couple of days with hiring the CRO so they're coming up with these potential changes and stuff, that maybe a briefing note could be put together, and this could all sort of come to the board meeting next week, just because quite frankly, we're not really in a position now anyway to have an informed discussion on this. So I don't know, I don't necessarily see a ton of value. Like, whereas next week, I think we'll have the materials and we can have a fruitful discussion.
Okay, no, that's perfectly reasonable. I will remind the board that does put the risk that the nomination package may be delayed, but that is fair enough if the board believes that to be prudent. So I believe that is now the consensus that we just continue moving on. So with that, sorry, yes, Director Bothwell.
So the agenda packages are supposed to be sent out on the 1st, correct? So that would be the same day as our board meeting?
It would be sent out on the 1st, but practically speaking, it will only really be accessible on the 2nd, if you think about it, because marketing, it's the end of business hours at the time, right?
Okay. Well, if that means let's put a motion to make agenda packages available on December 2nd then.
I mean, I don't think
Point of order, do you mean nomination packages?
the nomination package.
Yeah, what did I say? Did I say agenda?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I think the agenda packages will just be ready when it's available, right? Which is assumedly next meeting, right? So because we have to review the policy and like we have to approve the policies first before we can even come up with a deadline to release it, right? As long as it's within the policy. I think their heart is in the right place, but I don't think a motion of that is necessary.
Okay. That's
So,
I just
with
wanted
that
to
being
make things as short as possible.
Of
in a
course,
safety standpoint.
of course. I think we all share those sentiments tonight. But with that being said, I would like to thank the CRO for her time. And we're prepared to report to the board with agenda on Monday, or actually maybe even send out the election policies even ahead of time to allow for even deeper review from board members. Okay, next we can move on to the board governance discussion. So this is just a quick discussion that I want to have because we have our board secretary now. And I think it's, and this is something that I did have a conversation with Phil and Ian, specifically in terms of in regard to filling up, because we do have a backlog of meetings. And it was potentially a discussion of, instead of utilizing, this transcript style of meetings that we've been doing so far, we could potentially do a Senate or Board of Governors style type of transcript, so not type of minutes, which would just be the list of motions under the agenda items, as well as then the movers, the seconders, everyone who opposed or abstained or approved of the item, and then underneath that would be kind of like a general summary of what the main points discussion was. So that's something that would deviate from what the organization has been doing for a number of years, but it would definitely, I would imagine, speed up the process of how minutes will be, especially to fill in the backlog since July or June. So I thought that would be prudent to have this discussion, especially now that we have our secretary here, and to get their input too as well. So I'll open up the floor for, if that's what they're leaning towards. Yes, Director Bell?
I'll just keep my comments short, as I know for the sake of time here, but needless to say, I think this is a good direction to go in. And I think, the Governance Practices Review Committee can always sort of refine the process as needed. Like, I mean, we'll go with this for now, but if we find, maybe there's something we should include or not, or whatever, we can just kind of refine that as down the road for sort of future. But I think that this is a reasonable way to help mitigate the risk of the organization by not having our official records of the minutes as well.
So what you mean by this, are you talking about the new format or the old format? Just
the new format, just given that for the sake of time, is I don't know that feasibly we could ever really catch up with transcripts, just given the number of minutes.
Okay. Executive Director Champagne.
Obviously, I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other, but I do think that if you do go with the shortened minutes for the regular meetings, I think that's a decent enough idea. But because of the nature of some of the in-camera sessions in the summer, I think it's important to transcribe those just for corporate risk mitigation. You never know when we may need to actually have access to those.
Yeah, I think that is a very prudent option, especially for the fact that most of the meetings that happened this summer that were not in camera were presentations, which I think are not very valuable, and a transcript form, you watch the presentations, not read the presentation. So I believe we need to have a board motion in order to approve of this new format. So can I get a motion on the board to approve of the new minute format for the purposes of filling the backlog of minutes starting from June 2022? Motion by Director Vale, seconded by Director Del Giudice. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, I was just in the motion, I was gonna add the motion that I was gonna make, or essentially that just the Governance Practice Review Committee can kind of, I guess, discuss this based on sort of the findings, like operations might find as they're doing this, like, are there things that we should, like, changes that might make that we, as we're kind of going through this, we should change to the format down the road that might better suit the needs of every user of the minute.
Yeah. How about I rephrase it to be even more specific? So can I get a motion? So we still have the motion, but I'm going to rephrase the motion to change the format of the minutes starting from the June 2020, with the exception to the in-camera sessions, which will still remain in transcript form, contingent to any other further recommendations from the Ad Hoc Governance Committee in the future. And that we have the motion, still the motion by Vale and, sorry, my bad, yes, 2021. So the mover was Director Vale, the seconder was Director Del Giudice. Would you like to speak to your motion again?
I have a question.
Yes, now we have for any further discussion, and Director Bothwell.
Sorry, so my internet cut out a bit there, so I didn't hear fully what people had to say. But with the format being changed, will we still have access to the recordings? Just because with all of the chaos that ensued this year, having the transcripts for like the meeting notes were quite beneficial. Okay, yes.
The recordings will still be there. The meeting minutes would just be supplements, and I believe Director Vail will be, as he likes to say, we'll finally have meetings like every other organization out there. And not some transcript, but I think it is important to have the in cameras as transcripts for as the executive director. Sorry, yeah, executive director Champagne said for legal reasons. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. So that being said, all those in favor, Director Bothwell,
I approve.
Director Bryant,
I approve.
Director Shando,
I approve.
Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director McCarthy. Director McCarthy, do you approve? Okay, I think he is away for now. We'll go back to you. Director Phillips,
I approve.
Director Swington,
I approve.
Director Vail,
I approve.
Vice Chair Seeley,
I approve.
and back to you, Director McCarthy. Okay, the motion passes with unanimous consent without Director McCarthy. Okay, now we can finally move on to the in-camera session. So this is where it's a performance review based on policy of myself as a chair and CGO and the president in terms of performance in the operational side. At this point, due to the nature of the discussion, I will be not present in the in-camera. So I will pass it now off to the vice chair to chair the remainder of the meeting.
Thank you. So we are probably gonna have to stop this recording. Phil, your hands up.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but the review is of the board, the chair of the board, and the president, right?
Yes.
At some point, Andrew will be called back in to participate in the other parts of the discussion. Is that correct?
Yeah. I guess what we could do is perform the first ones without me, and then I can leave. I don't know how it can work.
All depends on which one you want to do first.
I was thinking we do the review of the chair first, because when the recording stops, it will sync to the chair's account. So we can call back Andrew when we're on to our review of the board and president and CEO.
There you go.
Okay.
So would I have to motion to ask the chair to leave the meeting?
Yeah. So are we in? We're not in camera now, are we?
No,
we are not in camera yet.
We would have to motion to go into camera, and then you would motion to get him out once we're in, with the caveat that he would come back.
Thank you. Vail?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I'll make a motion that we go in camera for the purposes of the performance review of the chair of the board, without the chair of the board being president in that particular section, and that the board will then call him into the meeting subsequent to that for the further performance reviews of the president and board.
Okay. Motion. Well, I guess I'm still chairing at this point. So motion by Director Vail, seconded by Director Del Giudice. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? As I see none, all those in favor, Director Bothwell?
I approve.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we also need.
Yeah, I'm just gonna add I'm gonna just add the amendment that we add Ian and Phil, or the executive director and the director of policy research and advocacy, and the board secretary.
And the board secretary, yes. Okay, so with those amendments, any other further discussion on the matter? So I see none. All those in favor, Director Bothwell,
I approve.
Director Bryant,
I approve.
Director Shando,
I approve.
Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director McCarthy. Director McCarthy. Oh, wow. Okay, moving on. Director Phillips. Oh, thank you, Director McCarthy. Director Phillips.
I approve.
Director Swinton.
I approve.
Director Vail.
I approve.
Vice C.
I approve.
The motion passes with unanimous consent. We are now moving in camera.